What's going on, guys? Killer6 back with my new Mozerker 5.0 build, and this one is definitely an improvement over the last one, and the last one was pretty damn good. So with this video, I'm going to show you guys all the gear that I use, cover the skill tree that I go with, and explain why I make the choices I do. In the background right now, you should see some gameplay happening so that you know what this build's capable of. And then there should be some chapters on the bottom of the video player itself so you can jump to specific things that you want to look for. There should also be timestamps down in the description below. And also in the description below, there will be a link to my Discord where you can go and download this save. If you're a PC player, you can download the save and install it in your saves folder so that you can try this build out for yourself. Sorry if you're on console, there's unfortunately no way to make a save file that you guys can download. I wish that there was, because then I would absolutely do it. However, there should be also a link in the description that shows my exact skill tree. That said, let's dive into this and cover what's what. So let's start off with the gear. So first and foremost, we've got one of the new items from DLC 4, the Prompt Critical. Now the one that I've got is a double penetrating. It does not have an element, which doesn't really matter too much on Moze. This thing is extremely strong, and this one has splash damage on action skill in. So basically, whenever you hop out of Iron Bear, slap this thing on, shoot things in the face with it. Now with this one, don't put it on impact, or I'm sorry, don't put it on sticky mode for Moze. Leave it on impact. That's what you're going to get your most damage with. All right, up next, this one's going to seem strange to you guys. You guys are going to look at this one, you're going to go, what? Rowan's Call? Nobody uses the Rowan's Call. Well, I'm going to tell you why I've got a Rowan's Call in this build. So the Rowan's Call is a Jacob's full auto assault rifle. The reason that I have this one on is because if you use the sapper that I found the other day, I've got a level 65 sapper. It has Jacob's weapon critical damage and Jacob's weapon accuracy along with health regen. The reason that you would use the sapper is to keep your health up, and you can do that really well and do a lot of damage with the Rowan's Call in your hand. If you want to do that, that's great. It's great for mobbing. I'm going to say that. How about that? All right, up next, we got a couple of flippers. Now, I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you guys. 9 times out of 10, this is the flipper that you're going to want to have equipped. Even if enemies aren't like weak to cryo or corrosive, as you can see, that's the two elements on this gun, it's not going to matter because of the element stacking we're going to do with our shield and our grenade mod. We'll get into that here in a moment. Conversely, I generally like to run with one of my monarchs. I do have a ×8 monarch that is very strong versus bosses and badasses. I like to keep that on, and that thing wrecks. In terms of the other gear, got a Septimator Prime. This thing is great versus the final boss in DLC 4 if you combine it with the Mind Sweeper, which I actually have equipped right now. That thing will do some serious work. Also, we got the Complex Root. If you don't know about the Complex Root by now, oh my god, this thing is a ridiculous sniper rifle. Think of it as kind of like a little bit like a Pimpernel from Borderlands 2. You shoot enemies, the shots kind of ricochet around. It does some serious work. We've got the ×2 Major Kong. This one's not max damage. I have not found a max damage one, but I did get this with the 390 anoint, so it's very strong. It can one-shot bosses. I got a video that kind of covers that coming, I believe on Monday, so you guys can see that. I have another Prompt Critical. This one is Radiation. Now, Radiation is one of those elements that's kind of like the best all around in the game because you get no penalty for using it against flesh, and it's very good versus bosses that are shock resistant. Think of like Kilovolt, for example. You resist shock, but you want to do some damage to his shield. This thing's great for that. We got a Chaos, this thing with splash damage after exiting Iron Bear for 18 seconds. Chaos is great if you're running the post-mortem Mayhem modifier because when you kill an enemy with this thing, it's going to cause an explosion, and if a skull's coming out of him, it's going to instantly explode and kill the skull too. So great for mobbing, especially if you're doing like, you know, heavy armored areas in the game. Speaking of armor, we've got a More Bruise and Rebound. This is another new one with the new DLC. I generally don't use this one that much. I like the gun, it's fun, but I like to do other guns a little bit more, but it's included here in case you want to play around with it. Got the conversions. If you haven't seen my video on this, you should check it out. Got a Reflux, just got this the other day. It's redundant, so lots of damage, and this one's really good versus robots and armored enemies because it also has next 2 mags bonus cryo damage, so corrosion and cryo are both good versus armor, so good combo on that. Got a Pat MK3, another new one with the 4th DLC. We got the Light Show. This one next 2 mags bonus incendiary damage, and it's cryo by default, so you know, pretty good gun. Got a consecutive hits lovable rogue. This thing's a lot of fun. Got a Blood Starved Beast. This one is a ×2 but it's after exiting Iron Bear. Next two mags get incendiary damage, so this is going to basically give you radiation and incendiary all the time. I have a Craters EMP5 on here, and the only reason is in case you want to move quickly across the map. You slap this bad boy on, and then for your artifact you slap on the Snowdrift Victory Rush, and you can just fly across the map really fast with that. Allows you to speed across maps. We also have another Monarch on here. This one, action skill in X2 mags will give you corrosive damage, 100% bonus corrosive damage. And the cool thing about Moze and especially this build is if you do these action skill in anointments, the ones that say next to mags, it basically means that you're always going to have that action skill end effect going, because she's almost never going to need to reload. More on that in a moment as well. All right, we got a dangerous beacon again, next to mags, bonus radiation. This one's radiation and cryo. Another light show. This one, after exiting Iron Bear, you get critical damage. It's not a lot of critical damage, but this thing shreds anyhow. Got a Krakatoa in case you need to fight something that's really weak to fire. Let's go with that. Got the Gargoyle. This thing is great for fighting bosses that are weak to corrosion. This is just a fun gun in general. And on Moze, this thing does crazy splash damage, and I got it with consecutive hits. I also got a Hellwalker. If you guys don't know about the Hellwalker, this thing got buffed and it is badass now. This thing, even though it's Jacob's, it's not going to work well with that Sapper that we were looking at earlier, the one that's +5 and gives Jacob's weapon accuracy and critical damage. Now, it will work with those perks. Don't get me wrong. It'll work with those 2 perks at the bottom, but what it won't do is it won't give you lifesteal, because you basically have to be holding down the fire button. You have to hold down the trigger in order to get the effects of the Sapper comm. And with the Hellwalker, you got to squeeze the trigger on each shot, which is why the Rowan's Call is a better choice for that particular thing. So speaking of Jacob's guns where you can hold down the trigger, this one will give you bonus incendiary damage. This thing does some nice splash damage as well. This thing's actually really good on Moze. Just got this while I was farming for my Raging Bear the other day. And we're also including with this build the OPQ system. And I know what you're thinking, guys. Oh my god, it's a level 57 OPQ Killer 6. Are you out of your damn mind? There's no way you can use a level 57 OPQ when the level cap is now 65. And this is the level 57 OPQ versus level 65 Mayhem 10 enemies. Yeah. OPQ is just fine, guys. Don't worry about the OPQ. In terms of the shields, I'm going to include a few other shields with this build. These are just all that I've farmed so far. The Transformer, obviously the Transformer is great because it's going to absorb 40% of shots as ammo. And I've got these in all the different elements. I've got radiation, corrosive, cryo, incendiary, and shock is what I have equipped at the moment. And these are real easy to farm. If you're farming this stuff up for yourself, just go to a vending machine. The Slaughter Shaft vending machine is the fastest vending machine, in my opinion, in the game for farming shields. So you just load in, check the machine, save, quit. We also have one of the new shields, the Plus Ultra. And the cool thing about the Plus Ultra, and I don't really have a great Plus Ultra yet, I need to farm some more, but the Plus Ultra will still absorb bullets as ammo. It also increases your action skill cooldown rate by 30% for several seconds. So it's kind of a little bit like a Transformer that will give you action skill back. And in terms of the grenades, you're going to see some level 60 grenades in here because I've only found one cloning maddening tracker level 65 so far, and it's with shock damage on it. So if you want, you can put that one on and then switch this from your shock anointment transformer to your radiation anointment. And this way you're getting both radiation and shock damage for the next 10 seconds anytime you end your action skill. So it's just extra elemental damage that you're going to be applying to everything. Then we've got the grenade thrown, weapon grenade, and action skill damage increased by 25% for 6 seconds. This one's really cool. Like if you want to even just do some Iron Bear damage, you can throw one of these, hop into Iron Bear, and then for 6 seconds, you're going to get an extra 25% action skill damage on it as well. So it's really cool. I've also included with this a Merv Cluster Fudge Exploder. This thing, not quite as good as the cloning maddening tracker, but pretty damn good. And then a Gigaton Exploder. This one's a triple nuke. This will kill you when you throw it, just so you know. I just thought it was fun to throw it on there. So it's all there for you if you want to mess around with it. All right, now in terms of the class mods, let's explain what situation you're going to use each of these class mods in, because each one has its own purpose. We've got the Minesweeper. This one is ridiculous for bosses. This one has +4 to fire in the Skagged In, +1 to redistribution, so ammo regen and lots of damage. And this one also rolled with splash damage, Jacob's weapon critical damage, and assault rifle damage. So again, works really well with that Rowan's Call, just saying. The Bandolier Flare. So the more fuel you have in Iron Bear, the more damage it's going to do. So you can see, boom, nice and quick. All right, now let's try the Raging Bear so you can see what that does. Iron Bear is so strong it doesn't really matter what comm you have on, but as you can see, the Bandolier Flare does do a little faster damage. The Raging Bear you're probably going to use mostly for mobbing in Iron Bear, and the Flare for bosses if you want to use Iron Bear versus bosses. So that's the difference between those two. Up next is the Green Monster. After firing your weapon for a few seconds, Moze's weapons gain bonus corrosive damage. The longer she continually fires her weapon, the greater the bonus. This one, it's a good class mod for, say, like the Valkyries or Wotan, things like that. But in my opinion, it's not really even remotely close to her best option, but I've included it in case you want to play with it. Up next is that Sapper I was showing you earlier. Again, the perks down the bottom aren't really the best for Moze. Ideally, I would like to have splash damage, weapon damage, general critical damage, things like that. But this one does give health regen, and you do get 12% lifesteal the longer you're holding the trigger. So if you use this thing, make sure you're using weapons where you don't have to manually pull the trigger for each shot, because it won't work so well. Then we got our old level 60 Sapper that I'm still including with this. This was on my previous Mozerker build. This one again, +5 to Iron Bank, which is going to increase your mag size stupid high. I think it gives you like 70% mag size when you have one of these two on. So no matter what gun you're using, you're not going to run out of ammo, and you're going to be able to shoot continuously. And this one does have splash damage and weapon mag size. It's probably still technically better than this one, but they're both on there in case you want to play around. Up next is arguably one of her most useful class mods in general, and that's the Blast Master. This one has great perks: splash damage, weapon damage, grenade damage. It has redistribution on it. It also has +1 to Vampire. So this one's just a really good all-around class mod. And again, it's level 60. It's being brought back from my previous build, so still a very, very good class mod. But if you're wanting to do just general survivability, in most situations you'll use the Sapper. If you want to do the most splash damage and just general damage with Moze as you can, the Blast Master. So options for you there. All right, in terms of the artifact, again, the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge reigns supreme on Moze, because as long as you're doing damage to enemies, whether it's with your gun, with your grenade, with DOT, doesn't matter, it's going to keep stacking that Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge, so you get lots of extra stack damage increase, plus it gives you the fire rate and mag size. I do also have this Cut Purse launch pad on here in case you need to regenerate some ammo. Let's be honest, we don't even need that, but it's on there just in case you screw up somehow. And then the Snowdrift Victory Rush, so you can fly around maps much quicker. Great for farming too, by the way. Say you're farming Road Dog and you need to zip down that hill, throw this thing on in that EMP5, dude, and that's going to give you speed boost. Where's that EMP5 at? Boom. So if you have those two things on, you can get across maps a lot faster, as you can see. So it'll help out with farming. So that's why those two things are on there. That's really the only reason those two things are on there. So now we need to go into the skill tree. All right, let's start with the green tree. The green tree is all about the bottomless mags. And the reason we capstone this tree out is because we're going to regenerate ammo for your currently equipped weapon, no matter what that weapon is. So say, for example, you're using this prompt critical. The mag size is only 6. So let's put on the Sapper, for example, and this is going to push our mag size up to 13. All right, so as we shoot now, we're not going to have to worry about our ammo consumption. As you can see, we don't have to spam grenades. We can just shoot enemies and not have to worry about throwing grenades at the same time, just in case you don't like to throw grenades, because I was a Zane main, dude. I always forget that grenades are even an option in the game, to be honest with you. That's why I like to capstone this thing off, and we'll go into some of the other things down at the bottom as well here in a second. All right, Cloud of Lead is a great skill. Occasionally Moze and Iron Bear shots will deal incendiary damage and won't consume ammo. Great skill. I don't like to use Match Set or Daka Bear. I don't have really any need for Daka Bear. When I'm in Iron Bear, I'm in Iron Bear to kill stuff. When I hop out of Iron Bear, I'm ready to hop out and shoot stuff in the face. I don't like to sit in a turret. Match Set, I don't match my manufacturers that much. As you can see right now, I've got 4 different manufacturers on, so really no point in me doing Match Set. Scrappy, this thing, I've got 4 points in it. Previously, I'd like to do 4 or 5. There's not a dramatic difference in the weapon damage, handling, swap speed, and mode switch speed between 4 points and 5 points. You're going to get 24% weapon damage with this skill at 4, so it's very strong, and that's just always, you just always have that extra damage as long as you're moving, which, let's be honest, who's not ever moving while playing Mayhem 10. All right, 1 point in redistribution. As you score critical hits, you regenerate ammo and health for a few seconds. The lower your health, the more powerful the health regen. Stoke the Embers increases Moze and Iron Bear's incendiary damage by 30%. Russian Offensive used to not give lifesteal. That was a change that they made a while back, and it makes that skill worth having now. Scorching RPMs. Moze gains increased fire rate, critical hit damage. Iron Bear gains increased hardpoint damage. We got 5 out of 5 in Iron Bank, just increases your mag size, and as you saw when we put on one of those sapper comms, it's going to double that to 70% mag size, which makes your mags huge, which means you're never going to run out of ammo, which means you're going to constantly deal damage, which means things are constantly going to die. It's like offense over defense over here with Moze. Then we got 1 point in Specialist Bear, and this increases Iron Bear's damage by 60% if you are matching your 2 weapons on Iron Bear, which I do because I always love to do the double Vanquisher rocket pods. Next, we got Some for the Road. You gain infinite ammo for a few seconds after exiting Iron Bear. This just further ensures that I'm never going to use ammo. Mainly, I put that point on there in case I'm doing some rocket launcher stuff and I just want to spam into an enemy. That's the reason we have that on there. And then finally, Forge. Automatically regenerate 5% of mag size per second. And we kind of already covered that, so very strong. Up next, we capstone the blue tree because this gives us short fuse, which is whenever you're dealing gun damage, you get explosive damage, a secondary explosion centered around the target, and that gun damage on the secondary explosion is 75% of your gun damage, which is extremely strong. The secondary explosion chance says that it's only 20%, but if you're using multi-pellet and high fire rate weapons like we do with this build, you're going to proc that all the time. Things are going to explode and die. It is a lot of fun. Firing the Skagden. Right now, this thing is broke as hell and it's doing lots more damage than it's supposed to do. I'm not arguing and I'm not complaining. Do it. Put 5 out of 5 in that thing. I've got 5 points in Grizzled, and I know this one's going to be maybe a little controversial. People will be like, that's a waste of points. You don't need that there. Basically, this just ensures that I'm going to have my Iron Bear up almost all the time. Stainless Steel Bear, I only put a single point in that, and the reason was just to move down the tree because I have 3 points here, 1 point here. I needed 1 more point to move down further. I could have put that and pulled the holy pin, but with grenades being so weak right now, I'm just not even worried about grenades. I'm not worried about grenades, you know, using them to kill things. I use them just to survive, and more on that in a second as well. Means of destruction, I've got 3 out of 3 here. This one will help further regenerate ammo. We got 1 point in Auto Bear. This way, whenever I hop out of Iron Bear, he hangs out for a while. And I've got a single point here in Security Bear, so when you do hop out of Iron Bear and Auto Bear is going, you're going to have a bubble shield you can hang out in, and I'll show you that in a moment as well. We got 5 out of 5 in Vampire, so if you are struggling to keep yourself alive, then make sure you do throw a grenade every once in a while, and that will restore 20% of missing health per enemy hit. And that's the reason why we use the Cloning Maddening Tracker, because this thing hits enemies a lot. All right, then we got 5 out of 5 in Explosive Punctuation. Whenever you deal splash damage, your action skill cooldown is briefly increased, so that combined with the top skill up here should help you. As long as you're shooting enemies and doing splash damage, you should be able to get your action skill back quick. And then finally, Short Fuse, which we covered. Finally, in the Shield of Retribution tree, we got 1 point in Security Bear, which we covered. We get that bubble shield. We got 4 points in Armored Infantry. This gives us 12% gun damage, 11% damage reduction. I would put 5 points in there, but I needed that point elsewhere. And it's only 3% more gun damage and 2% more damage reduction. So 4 points is plenty on that. We got 5 out of 5 in Drowning in Brass. This is a really good skill. So killing an enemy will grant you a stack of Drowning in Brass. You can get 3 stacks, and for each stack, you get 20% gun damage. So as you kill 3 enemies, you're going to have 60% gun damage. You will get a little bit slower fire rate, but it will last for 15 seconds. And that's 15 seconds of 60% extra gun damage. Is very strong. And then finally, Experimental Munitions. The reason that I didn't put 5 out of 5 here is so I could put that 1 point here. And this, whenever Moze or Iron Bear scores a critical hit, they deal bonus incendiary damage. And that is 15% of damage dealt. And that's just some extra good damage. All right, so with that, let's show you what the weapons can do versus a boss. And let's start off with that flipper, because this thing is stupid good. Basically, to make the best use out of this thing, and again, it's going to be either cryo or corrosive on this one, and it's not going to matter versus Traunt, even though he's not weak to those things. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to wreck him. We're going to get splash damage increased by 200% for a short time, and we're also going to get radiation and shock applied with the action skill end stuff. We're just going to hold down the trigger. That's all I got to do is just hold down the trigger and kind of look in his general direction, and that's it, man. Easy peasy, dude. Also, Death Skulls, no problem with Iron Bear, or I'm sorry, with Moze. Just shred that thing right up. All right, so what the Minesweeper does is when you land a critical hit, it has a 25% chance to drop a micro grenade that explodes after a short time. This one has splash damage, Jacob's weapon critical damage, and assault rifle damage. So we're actually going to use the Rowan's Call on this one, believe it or not. And I'm going to try and shoot his crit spot. He's definitely not going to cooperate with that. Let's jump in there and try it anyhow. I tell you what, we'll put Iron Bear out here just to be a distraction for him, because Iron Bear is good at distracting fools. And that allows us to get behind him, shoot him in his crit spot, and anytime you land a crit, you have a chance of getting those micro grenades, and when those micro grenades hit, they do crazy damage. Now this is most noticeable on bosses like Graveward, where you shoot his crit spot and you'll just see his health melt instantly. So it's a very strong class mod that you can have a lot of fun with. Wow, and then we got a Snowdrift rocket boost just now that's actually really good for this build, so I'll throw that on there, why not? Now let's just do some general mobbing. Let's start off with the Sapper, because this one's probably like your most basic and most easy to use general purpose mobbing class mod. So with this, what you can do is basically, as you're shooting enemies, you're going to keep your health up, so no matter what enemies hit you with, you should never have to worry about your health. Other than these damn death skulls, these things do not care about your health, by the way. They will insta kill you regardless of how much you keep your health up. But yeah, as you can see, no matter what they hit me with, I cannot be killed as long as I'm holding down that trigger and doing damage. Again, I've got this Rowan's Call on here for the general purpose mobbing because it works well with that particular Sapper. Now you can switch to the other Sapper and you can use this with literally any gun. You can use the other one with literally any gun, but you're going to get the best effect out of it with the Rowan's Call. The Hellwalker is a lot of fun, dude. This one, while Auto Bear is active, I'm going to get 130% bonus fire damage. So we're going to run over here and I'm going to pop Iron Bear, and we'll just leave Iron Bear here, and then I'll just run over and kill these dudes with the Hellwalker so you can see how much fun this damn gun is, man. It is so good right now. Cannot really express highly enough how good this gun is. This thing's great versus the skulls too. We've got more than okay boomer as our Mayhem modifier, so it's going to cause our gun to kick like crazy, in case you're wondering why I'm having such a hard time aiming. Normally my aim is flawless. I don't know if you guys know that about me. Up next, we got the Monarch. The Monarch just absolutely shreds, dude. This thing is just so good. Take it off of bipod mode when you want to move fast. Put it in bipod mode when you want to murder things. We're going to hop in and out of Iron Bear and proc our action skill and anointment and just shred anything in sight. We don't even need to really aim. Also, we got infinite ammo when we first pop out of Iron Bear too. And yeah, we can even kill things from like that far away if we want, and it's just that damn good, dude. Like literally everything dies. And this isn't even really like the most optimal Monarch that I could have got to, by the way. This one's more damage to badass named and boss enemies, but versus general mobs, it doesn't really matter about that anointment. It's going to shred them up. So went ahead and just kept that one because it's the best that I've gotten so far for my farming, and it is ×8. Show the lovable rogue, why not? And this thing's great because splash damage. It's great for ripping shields because it's always shock. You can't get this in any other element. And obviously, if you reload your gun, then all those stickies will explode. Or you can swap weapons and cause the stickies to explode as well. Let's stick all these on here and then swap weapons and boom, he's dead. Yeah. That's all there is to that. So that's the build, the gear, how to play it, how to have fun with this build. This thing can do, obviously it can do the Maliwan takedown. You can do it on true takedown mode if you want. Same thing with Guardian takedown. You can do this build through there. So that's the build. That's how it works. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, tap the bell icon to be notified anytime I post another one. And I will see you guys in the next one. Y'all have a great day.